Right, first things first, if you want to skip the review and just go straight to the playing, how the bell sounds on the kit, then just click the annotation here, and yeah, I'll skip the whole thing, just take you straight there. Right, I decided to do a review of this bell, Zildjian 9.5 inch Zil-Bel, very nice, because I'm seeing a lot of misinformation about Zil-Bels and bells in general in comments on YouTube videos and reviews and the like, and a lot of questions that no one really seems to be answering the same way, and I'd say I have a pretty good grasp of what the answers are, so I'm just going to answer a few of those frequently asked questions and correct a bit of the misinformation that's going around. Right, I would personally say Zil-Bel. That's not just because I own both of them, I just think they really have the strongest ping you're going to get out of any of the bells. I mean, that's loud, that actually hurts my ears. It sounds like my ears are distorting like speakers or something when I hit that. And the 6 inch has also got a pretty strong ping, and yeah, they cut really well through the music. A lot of the other bells have kind of problems when you're trying to use them like that, when you're trying to just give them one big whack before a breakdown or something, or to just have a really strong ping in the middle of a section. A lot of them don't really work. I mean, the Minor Classics bells and the Stag Black Metal bells, because of the lathing, have a kind of a much wider sound spectrum, which is great if you're playing kind of percussion stuff. If you're just doing something like maybe Latin or something, or I don't know, just a really weird effect in some sort of experimental jazz, then yeah, those bells are great. They've got a kind of a breathy sound and they're not too obtrusive, but in metal you kind of want them to be obtrusive, you want them to stand out. The attack on both of those is a bit softer than with these, so yeah, it's not quite as clear, it's not quite as strong, and it really doesn't project as well. The Sabian alu bells, they cut really well and they've got quite a strong ping, but I think the problem with those, personally, is they're a bit too dry. They haven't got all the ridiculous amount of overtones that these have, and that's what makes them, well, sound so good, in my opinion. The Sabian bells have just got one very specific pitch, and that's kind of can clash with the music, and it just, I don't really think it sounds as good as something like this. They're not, and it isn't. Basically, people think that the 6 inch Zil-Bel is really, really quiet. It's true that behind the kit you can't really hear it if you're, say, washing out in a big crash. Just, I mean, that on its own is probably louder than the sustain of my Zil-Bel there. But live, you've got to remember, these project like hell. I mean, that's why they've got so many overtones, because it helps to carry the sound. Live, that 6 inch Zil-Bel is the loudest thing on stage, even with all this ridiculously loud guitars and crashes, whatever. It cuts right through the music. And as for the sustain thing, they're really quite heavy. I mean, well, very heavy. This weighs about 3 pounds, 1.3 kilos. And they're so thick and dense, of course they're going to have a long sustain, but that's not really a problem. Live, again, it's all about the full mix. Well, if you're just playing with some crashes, you'll hear that it's just a ping and then it's gone. Live, especially. If you listen to any bands like The Devil Wears Prada or Chiodos, you can kind of hear that the Zil-Bels literally disappear as soon as they've been hit. I mean, that's what they're meant to do, but they do cut through the volume a lot. They are a lot louder than they sound behind the kit. Apart from this is ridiculously loud anyway. And yeah, they cut really well live, and they don't ring too long at all. Right, technically there is no wrong way to mount a Zil-Bel. It's not like a crash where you mount it upside down and it will break quicker. I personally like to mount this one the right way up, which I see a lot of people saying is wrong and they should always mount it inverted, and that's just not true. My reason for doing so is, if you've got a separate stand, then I really think you should mount it the right way up. If you're just putting it on top of another cymbal, then fair enough to mount it upside down. But upside down you can only really get one sound. That big clang, and really I think you get a better sound out of it if you have it flipped up this way, because not only can you get the same sound on the edge. You can also hit the main part of it, I'll call it the bow if you want. You get a slightly more piercing sound, a bit of a stronger attack, and it's not as soft. You definitely get a more solid. It's more cutting, it stands out more, so a little bit louder, and the higher pitch really helps give it a bit more presence. Plus you can kind of get a bit... get a bit more percussive on it if you're into that kind of thing. Oh, and that mounting this way up thing I think only really applies to the larger Zil-Bel. There's a lot more space to play on with this and get a lot more sounds out of it. As you should be able to see, I've got the 6-inch mounted inverted because all you can really get out of that is one sound. I've tried mounting it the right way up as well, and no matter where you hit it or how you hit it, whether be it on the edge or the bow, it sounds the same to me really, so I wouldn't worry about it with the Zil-Bel. Also, one final thing, when you have got these, I recommend mounting them on separate stands because sometimes you get a bit of sympathetic vibration. Mounted on top of a crash, when you hit the bell, the crash will resonate a little bit, and it can absorb a bit of the vibrations, make it a tiny bit quieter. It's nothing you'll really notice, but it gets on my nerves when I hit it and I hear the whole crash vibrating underneath it. Okay, I just want to clear this up once and for all. The bells used by Daniel Williams from The Devil Wears Prada are Zil-Bels. He is a Meinl endorser, but he's only recently started using one of the Meinl bells on top of his right-hand crash. On the first 3 albums and the Zombie EP, what you're hearing is a 6-inch Zil-Bel. And on the Zombie EP he's also using the 9.5-inch Zil-Bel. Now live I do believe he's using this Zil-Bel and one of the Meinl bells on top of a crash. It's definitely not a Zil-Bel, but this is what he's got down by his hats. And as for Matt from August Burns Red, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, he uses an LP 6.5-inch Ice Bell on his ride. You can kind of hear it a lot when he's doing blast beats, especially on the new album. And as far as I know, it's a Sabian 9-inch Radio Cup chime down by his hats. I used to think it was the bigger LP Ice Bell, but recently, someone told me it was the Sabian one. I compared the sounds and it definitely does sound more like the Sabian. So despite the fact that Matt is a Zildjian endorser and Daniel is a Meinl endorser, neither of them actually use their company's bells on the records.